Hey, y'all, picture this. It's a crisp morning in the heart of Ashtonville, Tennessee, and I'm standing on the steps of the old county courthouse, where the air smells like coffee from the cart across the street and justice is supposed to mean something. But that day, oh man, it felt like the whole world flipped upside down when they dragged Lena Carter calm, sharp, dressed like she owned the place right down those steps in handcuffs, her face red from a slap that echoed like a thunderclap. I was there, just grabbing my morning latte, and let me tell you, what happened next wasn't just a story, it was a reckoning, one that still got this town talking. Lena, she wasn't just anybody, though nobody knew it at the time, not me, not the crowd with their phones out, not even Officer Danny Malone, who'd just smacked her across the face like he was judge and jury rolled into one. She looked him dead in the eye, didn't flinch, and said, real quiet like, "Officer, you're making a mistake bigger than you can imagine." Her voice was steady, like she was reading from a script she'd memorized years ago, and Malone just laughed, all cocky, pinning her to the ground while his partner, Rodriguez, snapped cuffs on her wrists. The crowd gasped, phones went up, and I swear you could feel the air get heavy, like we all knew something was about to break. Now, Ashtonville's courthouse has seen its share of drama. Those limestone steps are worn smooth from 100 years of folks chasing fairness. But lately, it's been more like a stage for dirty cops and buried truths. 3 weeks before, I'd seen old Mr. Jenkins get hauled up those same steps, his daughter crying behind him, begging officers who wouldn't even look her way. It wasn't new, not really. Everyone in town had a stormy neighbor, a nurse, pulled over 5 times in a month, always by Malone's crew, the barbershop owner who kept his receipts taped to his dash just to avoid trouble. We'd all learned to live with it, you know? You keep your head down, you don't make waves, because that's how it works when the system's rigged. But Lena, she wasn't playing that game. I didn't know it then, but she'd been walking those steps every morning for a week, blending in, watching, taking mental notes like a detective in a movie. She wasn't just some random professional getting coffee, she was Judge Lena Carter, federal appointee, sworn in on the down low to sniff out the rot in our police department. And boy, did she find it. That slap from Malone. It wasn't random. Word was, he'd gotten a tip someone high up told him to make an example of a well-dressed black woman poking around the courthouse. They thought she was just a nosy lawyer. They had no idea she was the one about to turn their world inside out. Let's back up a bit, 'cause to get why this blew up, you gotta know the players. Malone, he'd been running this town's streets like his personal kingdom for years, 15 years on the force, buddies with the city council, always skating through internal affairs with a smirk. His reports were like fairy tales. Suspects always resisted. Officers always followed protocol. Case closed every time. Down in the courthouse basement, though, Miss Clara Thompson, a clerk who'd been there since the Nixon administration, was quietly filing complaints that never saw daylight. She'd seen it all: judges retiring, reforms fizzling out, Malone's name on every shady report. Another one, she'd muttered to her co-worker Jamal, sliding a folder into a cabinet that might as well have been a black hole. Woman says Malone roughed her up at a traffic stop. Got hospital records and witnesses. Won't matter, Thuff's untouchable. Across town, at the community center, Pastor Ray was preaching to a room packed with folks who were tired of filing complaints that went nowhere, tired of teaching their kids to avoid certain cops, tired of being told to trust the system. A mom stood up, voice shaking, saying her 12-year-old was scared to walk to school because of Malone's patrol car always lurking. The room nodded, murmured, felt it in their bones. Everyone had a story, and they were all starting to sound the same. Me? I was just a bystander back then, running my coffee cart, but even I knew something was wrong when Officer Sarah Brooks, this rookie I'd chat with sometimes, started looking like she was carrying the weight of the world. She'd sit in the break room, staring at her coffee, muttering about how the job wasn't what she signed up for. Malone's throwing a party tonight, her partner told her once, all casual. Celebrating another clean report. You in? Sarah just shook her head, like she was trying to shake off a bad dream. That morning, when Malone slapped Lena, it was like he lit a match in a room full of gas. My buddy Deshaun, who runs the barber shop across the street, had his phone out faster than you can say viral. He caught every second Malone's sneer, Lena's calm, the papers spilling from her briefcase with that federal seal glinting in the sun. Fraud suspect, My ass, Deshawn muttered, zooming in. They're setting her up. He wasn't wrong. Lena, still on the ground, started reciting legal codes like she was reading from a textbook. Officer Malone, badge 9274. This is deprivation of rights under color of law. Section 242. Maximum penalty, 7 years. Malone's face twitched, just for a second, like he wasn't sure what he'd stepped in. By noon, that video was everywhere: Twitter, local news, even CNN picked it up. Deshawn tagged every civil rights group he could think of, and suddenly Ashtonville wasn't just a sleepy southern town anymore. In a law office downtown, Angela Price, this big-shot attorney, saw the clip and nearly dropped her coffee. She knew Lena's voice. Hell, they'd gone to law school together. Clear my schedule, she told her assistant, already dialing the feds. At the federal building, U.S. Attorney Marcus Tate watched the video 4 times, then called the DOJ. This isn't just an arrest, he said. It's a conspiracy. Back at the barbershop, Deshawn's place turned into a war room. Laptops out, kids editing clips, old-timers pulling up stories from the 90s about Malone's crew. They've been at this forever, one guy said, shaking his head. But this time, they picked the wrong fight. See, Lena wasn't just a judge, she was a bulldog. Harvard Law, top of her class, spent a decade at the DOJ taking down corrupt cops like they were dominoes. Her appointment to Ashtonville was hush-hush, a federal sting to clean house. She'd been building a case for weeks, walking those courthouse steps, chatting with me at the coffee cart, all while carrying a briefcase full of dynamite, affidavits from scared officers, bank records showing payoffs, an org chart of Malone's whole network. That morning, she'd been on her way to execute a federal warrant against Malone, his lieutenant, and the damn police chief. They knew she was coming, though. Someone tipped them off, told them to make it messy, make it public, scare off the feds. Big mistake. By Saturday, the town was on fire, not literally, but you get me. Thousands marched from the community center to the courthouse, teachers, cab drivers, grandmas holding pictures of kids Malone's crew had roughed up. Pastor Ray didn't need a megaphone. His voice carried like gospel. They want us angry, we are. They want us divided, or not. They want us gone, you ain't. Behind him, a banner listed every case Malone's unit had buried, dates and names stretching back years. At the police station, things were falling apart. Sarah Brooks, bless her, stood up in a union meeting and dropped a bomb. I'm done lying for you, Danny, she told Malone, holding up her phone. I recorded every time you told us to rewrite reports, every threat you made. The room lost it, cops yelling, loyalties breaking. Someone leaked the audio before the meeting even ended. Monday morning, the courthouse was like a movie set. Federal marshals at every door, media packed and like sardines. Judge Henry Brooks, no relation to Sarah, took the bench, and when he said, "Bring in Ms. Carter," I swear the air stopped moving. Lena walked in, not in cuffs, but in full judicial robes, the federal seal shining like a damn spotlight. The crowd lost it, gasps, tears, a few cheers. Malone, sitting in the third row, looked like he'd seen a ghost. Chief Ramsey, next to him, was gripping the bench so hard I thought he'd break it. Lena didn't sit on the bench, she stood at the prosecution table, like a warrior. "Your Honor," she said, voice like steel, "I'm here not just as a judge, but as someone who felt the violence this town's endured for years. What happened to me Friday? That's Tuesday for half the people here." Angela Price, her old law school buddy, laid out the charges. Malone, Rodriguez, their lieutenant, and Chief Ramsey, all hit with federal counts of depriving rights under color of law. Lena clicked on the courtroom screens, and it was like watching a crime show: videos of Malone coaching lies, Ramsey shredding files, bank records showing millions in hush money. Sarah Brooks stood up, in uniform, and said, "I'm testifying against them." I saw it all. 6 other cops joined her, each one breaking the blue wall. Malone tried to yell it was a setup, but Lena shut him down cold. "You had my judicial papers in your hands, Danny. You knew who I was." Then she dropped the real bomb. Text from the mayor's office, ordering the hit, telling Malone to make it messy. The mayor's chief of staff was already in cuffs by noon. Judge Brooks didn't hesitate. "Warrants granted," he said, and federal marshals had Malone and his crew in cuffs faster than you can say perp walk. But Lena wasn't done. She pushed for federal oversight, a civilian board, a truth commission to hear every ignored complaint. Clara Thompson, the clerk, got a standing ovation when Lena named her to lead the archive review. I've got records back to 92, Clara said, voice cracking. Every family deserves to know their truth was real. The mayor, dragged in by agents, was given 60 seconds to resign or face charges. He folded like a cheap suit, whispering, "I'll cooperate." The deputy mayor, a clean guy named Jenkins, stepped up, promising to work with the feds. 6 weeks later, things were different, not perfect, but different. Sarah Brooks, now Lieutenant Brooks, was training new recruits, kids who signed up because they wanted to be the change. "Protect and serve means something now," she told them, pointing to the wall. "You see wrong, you report it. Judge Carter's got your back." At the new Community Justice Center, Clara worked with families like Mr. Jenkins, pulling up old cases, showing them the truth. "Your daughter's complaint from 2017, she told one mom. "We've got the video." She wasn't lying. Deshawn's barbershop was still a hub, but now cops showed up to listen, not intimidate. And Lena? She held open office hours. Her chamber's a place where anyone, cops, kids, grandmascal'd walk in and be heard. A year later, I'm back on those courthouse steps, but it's not for a fight, it's Justice Day. Kids are playing where blood used to spill. Food trucks are parked where riot cops stood. Lena's out of her robes, serving soup next to Lieutenant Brooks, laughing with folks who used to cross the street when they saw a badge. An old lady, Mrs. Jenkins, comes up, says her grandson wants to be a cop now, like the ones who help. Complaints are down 78%, community events are packed, and the police academy's got 3,000 applications from kids inspired by what Lena started. It ain't perfect, some wounds take generations to heal, but it's a start. Lena spoke that day, real simple, no fancy speech. A year ago, these steps showed us a broken system. Today, they show us what happens when you speak truth, when you refuse to stay quiet, when you demand better. The work's not done, it never is. But you, all of you, prove change is possible. She paused, looked right at us, like she was talking to each one. So what's the injustice in your town? What truth needs telling? Your voice can change everything. Tell it. So, y'all, I'm standing here, still running my coffee cart, still watching these steps, and I'm wondering, what's the story in your town? What's the fight nobody's talking about? Drop it in the comments. Share it. Let's keep this conversation going. Because if Ashtonville can turn it around, maybe your town can too. What do you think? Can we make justice more than just a word? Let me know.